It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Now, it's the moment we all have been waiting for.
Buying GF. Buying GF.
The fight clock
Buying
is brought to you by
GF.
Modelo.
Okay.
It's been a while since UFC 4 has been released. It is one of those weird abstract games where you need an extra accessory to play the game, like let's take Nintendo Wii for an example. If you remember back when Wii Sport 2 was released and you had to buy an extra lump that you needed to attach to the controller to be able to play the game, UFC 4 does something similar. Before you buy the game, make sure that you also buy a bottle of lube so you don't feel EA's mighty salami every single time you start up the rounds.
Don't touch me, motherfucker. Get out.
I can't let you get close.
Can you hear my
Once you get through that odd shifting style, you will be quickly introduced to the character customization, which is normal in other games, but not really for UFC. But what's really not normal is that we can't use game face at all this time around, for some weird reason. But despite that, since I could not put my handsome face into game face anymore, I went for the next best thing. Except for I kind of forgot that I could write a last name and I went with Roop. After your masterpiece is created, you are sent to the scripted fight and the music is very hippity-hoppity like the cover. And if you're used to any other UFC games, the camera is just way too low, and all you see is the fighter's asshole. Wait, hold on. I need to improve my vocabulary so this video won't end up too vulgar. The camera is just way too low, and all you see is the fighter's intergluteal cleft. And you will lose the fight regardless because you're too distracted by their asshole. But essentially the career mode is them finally listening to their fanbase and reading all the feedback they got from the previous installments career modes. And then they did a line of coke and put all the suggestions into a shredder and said, we're gonna make a Creed type of game, but we will give the coach a 5-sentence line about how great you were at the workout. But cut it 3 seconds into the recording.
Nice work today. That was some good control from the top. From there, you can... Great job in there. You land volume like that, you can... Those...
Seriously? He just said that? I'm gonna copy strike this guy.
And then they went to their favorite chlorine tank, dipped their head into it and popped out after 2 hours and proclaimed that every training sessions is a sparring match that lasts anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. So it truly feels like you have been in an actual 6-week training camp between each fight.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out.
Then, to put the cherry on top of the ice cream, they drink their favorite pint of gasoline, burps out Ultimate Fight Club.
The first rule of Fight Club is...
No for gay Jesus people.
Because you are forced to sit through tons of cutscenes with your coach in the first 2 hours. And then he just disappears for the rest of the 80% of the game, so you just sit there wondering if the coach was just a manifestation of the ideal person your character dreams to be, and you were just coaching yourself this entire time.
No, come on, you're not an intellectual, you're a fake and a fraud.
Alright, I will give credits where credits are due. They did try to do something cool with the career mode, and that is that you will gain levels on how much you do a particular thing, like single leg takedowns, jabs, hooks, guillotines and whatnot. So, it's basically like Skyrim, without guns.
Yeah?
But career mode is career mode, and it serves as nothing else but a tutorial for the harsh online landscape, like I said in my previous review. So the son I'm just popping out for milk take care of your mother simulator is not so important in the grand scheme of things. Just like many other modes in this game that you surely will not be using more than once, like these ones. So instead I will glance over Blitz Mode, which is short tournament style matches with unique rules every day. Sounds more fun than it actually is, because it's just a bunch of spam and exploits. But I will focus on the only two modes that matters in this game, OWC and Quick Fight, because that is where the review really matters. Otherwise, it is just like if I were to review Smite, but I only played against bots all the time. But before I get into the meaty meat, you probably have noticed something. Where is Ultimate Team? Well, EA is in a bit of a trouble for inciting gambling upon minors.
Hey, kid. Would you like some?
Surprise mechanics.
The first one is free.
No.
So this time, it's all purely cosmetic. Alright, the OWC. It is the online ranked mode in UFC 4, where divisions is like bronze to plat in other games. But this time around, you can't choose your weight class. It's randomized every full hour, but you are able to use your avatar fighter in this mode. The first day of release, I managed to squeeze myself through the top 500 in the world, because I learned after the first fight that this is nothing like UFC 3. Stamina means absolute jack shit this time around, and I tested it further with a mate where I spammed jabs for half a round without break while he dodged it, and he lost more stamina than me. So, with this knowledge, I gained a lot of responsibility. And I did what any other honorable man in my position would have done. I abused the shit out of it. The very next day they did a quick patch that did fix it to a tiny degree, but that is not why the entire landscape of the online world had changed. Because I quickly learned that my puny little exploit was nothing compared to what the big boys at the top of the leaderboards had figured out. They say that you are what you eat, and let me tell you what, about 70% of the top guys ate backpacks for breakfast, lunch, dinner and a little snack before they went to sleep. It will make even Damien Mayer shed a little tear. Essentially this exploit was that you enter the clinch, then transition to the back, then jump there and stay, and after a while then choke a bitch and you win. This major exploit was patched almost a week later. Now the new exploit was enter clinch, put head down, choke a bitch, win.
Where's that music coming from? What the fuck?
During this time it was nearly unblockable as well, and if you used to wait until you activated the submission, or as I like to call it, the death button, it will drain the opponent's stamina, and the submission itself was ridiculously hard to escape back then. Essentially what the initiator had to do to submit someone by chokes was to very calmly rotate the joystick around. And the only way to counter this was to quickly look through your phone and convince yourself, meh, you weren't even playing in the first place. You don't really care anyway. It's not like you needed gems on belts or anything. So yeah, my previous look for the game wasn't so great, to be honest, but now, a good 4 months later, we are at UFC 4's 4th and current stage. When playing in a ranked setting, where your placement in the leaderboards matters to a degree, you will be able to see who your opponent is gonna be and choose accordingly before the fight. Also, you will see your opponent's accolades and levels, and you can consequence-free just quit. Another thing is that when you choose a character and press ready, if the opponent just switches between characters, it automatically unreadies you. And this will cause people to have a fucking Mexican standoff on choosing the best characters when I just wanna choose a fucking random. If you have seen some of the fighters' faces in real life, and then you look at this game and the fighters here, you know what I'm about to say.
Takk, Cody.
Takk, Cody. Også når du ser når bildet kommer opp, then you know exactly hva jeg snakker om. Det er en annen person. Det er ikke Cody. Det er noen som bruker huden hans. Det er en skinwalker.
Skinnmaske. Jeg føler det er mange som ser sånn ut. Det er så mye dårlig character. Oi! Oi!
Det er creepy as fuck!
Oi! Det er faen meg Gary Garbrandt.
Before the fight is about to begin, you can now send some pre-written words and you can choose between 4 different kind of emoticons, which is quirky and corny at best but becomes unfathomably tedious in the long run. It's also cringe-inducing to see like Holm pointing at you and grinning. Or every single fucking Conor McGregor man is doing either the kissing thing or the noodle thing. They revamped the submissions and separated them into joint and choke submissions that has 2 different minigames. The chokes are the hardest one to pull off after the numerous nerfs it got, but it's a game of chase the circle and the joint thing is just rocking the boat. Ground and pound is essentially a cue maker of hooks and straights where the opponent has to correctly guess and counter the hooks or the straights. The clinch is also redone, where it is a smoother transition from stand-up to clinch, but it's highly spammable. But now there's ways to counter it and get out of it. The takedowns are more dynamic this time around, and it depends on where you drive the opponent in direction and whatnot. And denying takedowns works the same, which can lead to some insane interactions that is the most similar we have gotten to a real-life wrestling in a video game. Now that I've gotten all that out of the way, I will now speak about the current state of UFC 4, and it is actually pretty decent, I would say. Sure, the clinch thing can be exploitative, and sometimes, and I do really mean all of the times, when I get hooked, I instantly die, but when I throw a hook, it's like
naughty, naughty, you teasing me, you naughty, naughty.
And it does not matter how much I actually sway or use head movement. Either it's RNG based or I'm missing something. But it is pretty much where the UFC 3 left off at this point, and you can actually be quite technical this time around and actually win. But the current meta is still high volume and high pressure, where it is quite normal that it's thrown about 100 strikes per round, which is absolutely insane compared to the real life counterpart. Take that as you will.
And one of the great things about having a fully dynamic game engine is all of this just works. It's not, I'm not kidding.
Do it.
The second game mode is Quick Fight, which works the same way Quick Fight worked before. You choose weight class, set a couple of rules, play either MMA, stand and bang or knockout mode, and just have fun. Here you will be matched against the worst and the best players indiscriminately. But the game finder is so broken that it will sometimes match you against people you have declined the rematch against. So even in death, there is no escape. This serves as a casual mode for the game and has its own leaderboards based on the winning streak and how many KOs and subs you get. My final evaluation of the game is that it has been a wild rollercoaster seeing how they have been patching the living hell out of the game to try to remove as much exploits as they can. I had my doubts with the game, and if I were to rate the game on release, it would have been a solid 5 out of 10, because my disappointment was immeasurable and my day was ruined. My previous review, which will never see the light of day, I rated it as a 7 out of 10, because of all the issues I mentioned earlier. But what my current rating of the game is? I hate it as much as I love it out of 10.